So this mortician friend of mine reaches out to me, Facebook thing, and Bob, I saw a phone number from Louisville. I thought I'll pick it up. And we talked for a little bit. We were good friends when I lived in Louisville, Kentucky. He was an embalmer. And I said, tomorrow's Day of the Dead. Can I ask you some questions about embalming and this, that, and the other? And he's like, sure. So I asked him several questions. First of all, do you bathe the dead? Like before you put them, because, I mean, it's usually 3 or 4 days, right?
I feel like you would clean, well, you're embalming them.
He said, yeah, well, and I said, do you shower them? Like, how do you, and he's like, no. He said, we can't really sit them up.
Why?
He said, because they're too heavy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you'd have like a harness.
No.
Okay.
No, he said, we clean the top part.
With what?
Well, first
like
they take
Windex?
all the fluids out, right?
Right.
They take everything out,
and they
first.
put formaldehyde.
And they put formaldehyde in, and
it's making me nauseous.
Yeah, and he said, and then we do the makeup thing. But yeah, we take a wet rag with soap, and we wash their face and pretty much their entire body so they smell good.
They take fluids. Do they take the organs out if you're not an organ donor?
I don't think so.
So if you're an organ donor, obviously they've removed your organs.
But I think I may be totally wrong here, but I believe what he said to me was then when they take the organs out, normally it's not an open casket. It depends. It depends on the death. It depends on what the person
looked
like.
I got a lot of questions now. Did you ask him about like do they empty the bowels?
They do that. Yes. Yeah,
I'm literally making myself sick.
Yeah, they take everything out.
They being the embalmer, not in the morgue.
They take everything out.
Not in the morgue.
No.
I mean, this is the embalmers.
Yes.
How do they do that?
They suck everything out. Make sure
like a vacuum cleaner, like a dry vac?
Because there's still bodily things that can still happen. I mean, you toot it in the middle of the night when you're sleeping.
Did they use a dry? How do they get it out? You didn't ask that.
I did ask him the question if he was ever asked if he could. We had this on the veterinarian show we're talking about this week. This new thing now is a taxidermy for your favorite pets. You could have had Ollie taxidermy.
Yeah, no, I've seen.
And they look.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have Ollie's.
I could have not done that.
And then some people are turning their cats into rugs with the head still on it.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's just wait. So what'd you ask him? If you can do that with humans?
Yeah. I mean, because everyone's talking about. There's this. Is it in India or Indonesia? I think it's Indonesia. Where a Day of the Dead, they will dig up, exhume their bodies, and they take them out, and you look it up. I think it's Indonesia, and they dig them up years after. I mean, like every year they dig them up.
Every year
they put their clothes on, they put cigarettes in their mouth. They're getting kind of stiff, so they hold them up so they can. And,
at some point,
and they walk with them through the village and celebrate their lives. They put hats on. They take pictures with them.
Well, at some point you can't do that though, right?
They do it until they can't do it anymore.
Right.
Then they put them back in the ground, and leave it. But once a year, they dig them up. They put clothes on them, cigarettes. They have them playing cards. I mean, it's crazy.
It is, to me, the cultural differences. Obviously, there's cultural differences, right? All over the world about how we deal with death.
Yeah.
Right? But particularly in other cultures. And I know we have that here, depending on your religion, also depending on who you are. But like that is a great way of saying death is just another, it's a transition. I mean, again, I know certain religions, but like, can you imagine if you're a kid growing up, instead of being essentially, I would say most kids are scared of coffins and death and et cetera. But you grow up and it's part of your thing. Oh, we're going to dig up grandma this year, and you just dig her up every year. Oh. Right, exactly. I mean, I think it desensitizes you in a good way to what death is.
In Brazil, they actually many believe that the dead come up out of the ground on their own. And there is documentation that happens.
Come up where? Out? What do you mean?
When it's their anniversary, they just come up. That's where the zombie thing came from.
Oh.
Where actually people are like, I didn't dig them up. Did you dig them up?
Oh,
No. And they're like, they're not doing anything, but they're just kind of sitting there, and they're like,
I don't like that. I could see that happening in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It would happen. I could see it happen in New Orleans because, I mean, just the way the sea level.
It's a Brazilian kind of thing. All right, so I said, what happens when you have, because obviously if someone's in a horrific wreck, today's Day of the Dead, by the way, if someone's in a horrific wreck and they're dismembered or something like that, normally there is not an open casket thing.
Do they have to get in discuss? That's an interesting thing.
There really is. Like how bad does he look? Because a lot of people love to have open caskets.
That's what I was going to say.
You want
Does
to
he
see
make
the body.
the call? Do you think he made? I mean,
No, it's a family call.
Okay.
But he's the one that they reference to say, okay, how good can you make him look? Because obviously, I was asked, what if someone gets shot in the head?
Yeah.
Shot in the body's fine because you can just do upper body up or whatever.
Yeah.
He said, I have had a couple where I actually had a guy that got shot between the eyes. And he said, and as long as the cranium is intact,
right,
that I can stuff cotton in it. Again, they're taking all fluids out, so things aren't oozing out. And then he goes, I've got a special wax that I can actually close the hole up and use makeup to make it look like he wasn't shot at all.
You're literally, you're freaking me out. You're grossing me out.
If I knew that someone was killed by suicide or got shot in a thing,
I don't want.
But then I'd like to see them. A lot of people like to see the body.
But they don't look real. That's the thing. To me, I mean, then this is nothing against your friend. Because he's doing the best he can with a dead person.
Yeah.
But every open casket I've ever been to, and this is why I told you this is one of my fears. I do not go. If I got to go to an open casket funeral and I have to walk by, I walk by and turn my head. I cannot look.
Really? Even if it's someone that just died of natural causes?
Yeah, because I'll tell you why. One, just the whole thing freaks me out. Kind of the death part of it freaks. Not dying, the death freaks. But every open casket that I've ever looked, they don't look like how they were.
No, they never do. They're dead.
No, but they also don't.
They're not happy anymore. They're dead, for God's sake.
No, but they don't look. And again, this is nothing against the embalming industry or the morticians because they're doing the best they can.
Oh, no, but what do we say? He looks good.
No, but he does.
Yeah, how many times have you been to a funeral? She looks so peaceful. The mortician did a really good job on her.
She looks peaceful.
She's a little pale, but she looks really good.
No, but that's the problem. Yeah. They look peaceful, but not like them. Yeah. It's like someone, you know what it is? You know what it is? This is what it is. God, I can't believe I'm saying this again. This with all due respects to the dead and God and the morticians. It looks like someone who got a weird sort of plastic surgery.
No, there's no doubt. There's sometimes you look at him, you're like, that doesn't look anything like him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad. And that's what I don't like. I don't want my last memory. I don't want my last memory of this person, even if I knew him not very well.
Yeah.
I want it to be my last memory of the person. And the problem that I have, you talk about this with you in movies, it gets in your head.
Yeah.
I don't want the last thing I see to be something where my brain is going, okay, that doesn't look like them.
Yeah.
That's just.
But you remember what they look like. You know they're going to look a little.
No,
different.
but I can't get.
I have this thing where I have to touch their hand.
Oh.
I know some people are freaked out by that, but I like to pat my hand.
I think Jews.
There's this touching thing for me, and I kind of feel like, okay, you can go now, and I can touch your hand.
touch the towel. I don't think Jews do. I don't think we do open caskets.
Really?
I'm pretty sure we don't do open caskets.
So one of the questions that I thought was interesting is, do they sew the mouth shut?
Why did you ask that?
Because I always wondered, I've got, deviated septum and I got a little sleep apnea, and obviously they're not breathing anymore. But if they're lying there and you don't want the,
that's true.
You don't want the, and they're laying on
their
back.
Think about that. Yeah.
So just the natural.
Oh.
And then I said, if you push it closed and hold it closed for a period of time, does it just stay shut?
Like
he goes, no,
vice.
It will continue to open up. So they do sew it shut, but they don't sew the lips. He said, what we do is we go into the back of the throat and through the septum area between the nose and the lip, and then sew it shut.
We're gonna watch me vomit. Like, how do they go? Wait, go through what?
They go up through the throat. They go back down through the nose.
How do they go into
the
throat?
septum.
Do they make like a little hole?
They have a little tube that goes up. It comes out the nose, and it goes, and since the person's
like
dead.
Intubating, like reverse intubation.
Yeah, it doesn't come out the nose, obviously, because then you see the string, but that goes down between the septum, between the lip, and it goes the lip, and they can tie it shut there.
A little tiny knot.
A little tiny knot with a bow. And so I said, well, if you can do that, then can you make a facial expression? He said, absolutely. He said, I can make them look anyway. He goes, typically speaking,
it's just like
if they had a resting bitch face their entire life, we try to make them look as often. And what they'll do is the family will give them pictures.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And say, we want them to look like this, or this is how they normally look, or can I have a couple pictures? And they'll try to make them. He said, if it's someone who's always smiling, they'll make sure they have some type of smile. He said, it's very easy.
Nightmares.
And he said, that's just usually using gauze, cotton, whatever. You can make someone look like the flippin' Joker if you want to. I have not seen a smiler in a casket in a while. I've seen, like that pursed. I call pursed lips. Mm-hmm. Pursed lips are pretty good.
Does Do you grow up wanting to be a mortician, or does it happen in your family?
That sounds like a garbage collector. It probably runs in your family.
Like
I would think, it's probably a damn good business.
Well, no, the funeral business.
I've run by rid outs, and I'm thinking, because we're all going to die. That business will never close,
right.
And it's super expensive.
Yeah.
When you're throwing a $4,000 casket, that's a business that will never die.
You can get it on Amazon, did you know? You can get it on, but there must have been a movie about this. Let's say your family is in the embalming, the mortician, what do you call it? Mortuary business.
Yeah.
And like you're growing up like you don't want to do that.
No, I'm sure there's a lot of families that don't, but if you grow up being in the business and it's very lucrative.
Yeah.
And I would think that you probably have a lot of downtime. There's a difference.
No,
This friend of mine I talked to was a mortician, and he does the whole thing. He does the embalming. He's a full service dude. There are embalmers who just embalm, and then they're sent off to the mortuary, and the mortician takes care of and he does all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, and then the funeral home. But there are some people that are like from start to finish process, which really makes a lot of sense because you can bundle. Would you like to bundle that? I can embalm.
Listen,
I can mortuary.
I will tell you. Have you ever experienced this? Have you had friends or loved ones? Well, I know you've had loved ones who've passed. Your mom and I had. I've had my dad and I've had my grandparents and I've loved. It is one of the most distressing things after you go through. However, they pass. Sometimes it's peaceful, sometimes not. And they're dead, and particularly if they're at the hospital, or even if they're not, let's say they die at home, the logistics. I'm not even talking about the funeral yet, because it's one of these things that is so outside of our normal human experience that if you think about it, I mean, obviously in the hospital, there is they passed, and then like you go away and somebody takes them to the morgue, and then they're sort of behind the scenes, and they make it to the mortuary and that kind of stuff. And I'm trying not to be morbid, but I think it's really interesting psychologically. If somebody, a loved one passes in your house, and maybe it's an overdose, maybe natural causes, maybe it's a heart attack or whatever. Then you're in this weird place. I have a dead person in my house. Yep. And most of us don't, obviously most of us don't ever experience that. And then you have to walk through these weird steps. Who do I call? Do I call 911? Do I call the morgue? If the morgue comes, and they carry it away, it's just, the reason I'm saying that and the reason I don't even talk about the show is there are these things that are sort of, we know that it exists in our realm of, but we don't ever think about it.
Yeah.
And yet when you're faced with it, I watched it with my mom, and I have a good friend who lost a loved one in the house. It's this weird sort of, it's emotion meets logistics.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go there.
Yeah. Is that something you procrastinate on? I was going to call the morgue today, but
no, you know what
he should be good he's in his recliner and we're watching TV, and I think he'd probably be good for a couple more days. We have people who do that.
I know.
Because they're not ready to build closure, depending on whether they thought they were going to die.
Right.
I do think the type of death is...
Absolutely.
If it's expected, closure is easier because you've been set up for that. And that's why if you're going to find any silver lining to cancer, when you're told someone's going to die, that's the only positive.
Right.
If there's any positive to cancer, is that okay? They have a limited amount of time, and you got a lot of things you can wrap up and close up, and you know what's going to happen. It's coming. The unexpected death is really, really difficult.
This is why you have friends do it.
And finally, a lot of people were asking about what do you do with the hands, because some hands are down by the side, and some hands are like this.
Was that a preference thing? Oh, it's not.
No, you know
it's a
why?
Religious thing.
Single people have their hands down by the side. Married people have their hands
so you can put the ring
over their navel, and they always have the left hand on top of the right.
And they have their wedding ring on?
And then
what if you're single and you'd like to have yourself crossed?
I mean, you can make a request. They'll do whatever you want.
Do we need
it looks much more peaceful when you have your hands like this.
Yes.
But think about it. No one ever sits like this. Not unless they're really full. Like last night, I was eating. I was like, jeez. But I mean, no one's just.
Are these things we're supposed to put in our will?
And then I said, okay, what happens because a lot of people are buried with things that they love.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you do before you actually put the body? And he said, there is a really short period of time that we're told what to take off the body, whether it be a necklace, whether it be the wedding ring, maybe
Take off? What do you mean?
Yes, they take jewelry off
You mean
on the ride to the funeral home. The family will
after
say
the funeral?
Yeah,
give me the ring back.
after the viewing of the body.
Right now, we
and
want that ring
They're
back.
heading to the big
Yeah.
green pasture. They're like, okay, I want this taken off. I want
Yeah.
this taken off. And he said there has been some ruckus there. Like,
I
no,
can
she's being married with her wedding ring.
I
They're
can-
like, no,
oh,
that wedding ring's worth $20,000. We're taking that with us.
Dude, I've told you.
Yeah.
Births, deaths, marriages, maybe divorces are the most disruptive. Humans lose their ever-loving minds around, and you will get all-out arguments about that stuff. I want those damn shoes.
There will be a. I had it in my family.
Yeah,
We had a meeting. My dad was alive. 4 kids were sitting there. He's like, here's how it's going to go down. I'm going to die, and here's what's going to happen.
Okay, well,
Are there any questions? And we were all like,
no, but see,
cool.
that's fine.
It didn't go down that way.
Oh, afterwards.
Oh yeah. You know, I told you my situation.
Yeah, but that's not.
And I wasn't very compassionate because my sister, God love her, had to take care of him.
But that's not cool if they've stated explicitly.
It was all about. It always comes down to the mighty dollar.
Yeah,
it's always about the money.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in situations like that.
You know, it's we were going to have an estate sale.
Yep.
And we each got.
Is that what he wanted?
Yeah. This is what we're going to do. You each get one thing, and then we're putting the rest up. And it's going to be taken out of here, and we'll close the house. And my sister, who was there with him till his dying moment, felt the need to go through everything in the house and
take more than one thing.
Well, yeah. My brother got the pool table, and then and obviously I didn't live there, and so I don't care. I got a trophy, a horse's ass.
It's a very interesting.
But we're good now.
It's a very interesting. When my grandmother passed, my dad could not go into that house for like a month.
Yeah.
And he ended up just giving everything away, jewelry, with the exception of a few things, jewelry, lots of things that. Again, it's so interesting because it depends on who you are psychologically. It speaks volumes about how you deal with separation and the end of a relationship. You know, there are I want the momentums. I want not everything, not from a monetary standpoint. I want it. Then there are the other who give it all away. I can't, deal with it. And then, I don't know about you. I've had this with grandparents and my dad and stuff. I almost feel guilty taking things. That's me. Like,
you ever have a family where they're putting stickers on crap while they're still alive?
No. Are you serious?
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, who gets what?
Dude, everyone watching right now, listen right now, has been that situation where they know grandpa's, they're putting stickers on things in grandpa's or grandma's house or their mom and dad's house.
Like mental stickers or literal?
No, literal stickers on things.
Like, that's mine?
That's mine. Oh, I've been through that.
That's so rude.
First,
is grandma, they're not dead yet?
No.
Are they dying?
Well, yeah,
like,
they're
are they super
eventually.
close?
Like, they're 85, but they're still relatively healthy.
I get the George.
And you start working that. Hey, listen.
When she goes.
You're saying it with the person.
Yeah.
Unless you're 85, what do you plan on doing that piano? I mean, and there's little workings there. The next thing you know, somebody from the family realizes I got our piano because my son was taking piano lessons. So my dad offered, but I didn't ask for anything.
Well, that's what
I didn't
mean.
say, hey, can I have the piano? Or I didn't ask for anything.
I've had my grandparents ask me, what would you like when I'm dead? I can't do that. Like when they say, what do you want when I'm dead? I'm like, my mom's done that. I'm like, I don't do that. Like, I don't, nothing.
But it's going to happen and eventually.
I know.
And you want to make sure that you got that one thing that's important to you.
I know. Jules already told me all the music she wants played at her funeral.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, it's good that you're,
It's not in the will, but she's like, now remember, this is the stuff that I want. Like, this is the stuff I want. This is how I want my funeral to go. But you know my wife.